Have you ever had a boss that made work so bad that you dreaded getting out of bed every morning?
Bad bosses are such a staple of modern work culture that they even become a Hollywood trope. Everybody's got at least one horror story of working for a bad boss. They don't have empathy, they micromanage, they don't invest in their employees, they play favorites, they take credit for their team's success while throwing them under the bus when there's a failure, and sometimes they even berate them. I think everybody's got at least one horror story of working with a terrible boss. Not only did they kill company morale and eviscerate team culture, some studies estimate that they're responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars of lost revenue every single year. So if everybody knows the characteristics of a bad boss and nobody wants to be one, why are there so many of them? Look, I'll admit that sometimes it might just be that being promoted to manager brings out the power-hungry egomaniac in some people. But most of the time, I don't think that's the truth. I think there's a really good reason why competent, hard-working, well-intentioned employees turn into monsters when they're promoted to manager, and we're not talking about it enough. And it all boils down to how our brains work. A recent study conducted by a group of researchers at Yale University recently found that acute stress can severely compromise the function of higher executive areas in the human brain. Neurochemical changes during stress can rapidly switch off prefrontal function. Neurons in the prefrontal cortex disconnect and stop firing after being exposed to a flood of neurotransmitters or stress hormones. In short, stress makes us stupid. So when you get stressed, your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the parts of your brain that help you do your job well, like regulating your thoughts, actions, and emotions, thinking logically, problem solving, collaboration, and gratitude, that part of your brain completely shuts down. And your amygdala, the part of your brain that is responsible for your survival, we call that your fight or flight response, it takes over. So logically, bad things happen when the part of your brain that is responsible for the best parts of you shuts down, especially if you don't have healthy and productive ways of dealing with that stress. As psychologist Dr. David Schnarch puts it, if you can't regulate your own emotional temperature, you'll regulate everyone around you to keep yourself comfortable. Now, I don't know about you, but I rarely meet a people manager who isn't feeling some sort of side effect of stress. Managers are constantly feeling worried, angry, chronically exhausted, anxious, defensive, irritable, frustrated, avoidant, and unable to focus or make decisions. And when those negative emotions flood their brains and their body, they do exactly what Dr. David Schnarch said they would do. If they can't find a productive way to calm themselves down, then they will attempt to control everybody around them to regulate their negative emotions. This is when good managers go bad. They start micromanaging, leading with fear, intimidation, and threats. They give people more work without increasing their pay. They demand unquestioning loyalty. They lie to their employees. They cause them to live in fear of their job security. They overwhelm them with too much work because they don't know how to say no. They might insult their employees or demean them publicly, or they have little to no empathy for their employees' personal struggles. Nobody wants to be a bad boss. But if you don't have some healthy and productive ways to deal with the inevitable stress that comes with being a people manager, your brain is almost certainly going to betray you. So here's what I think would be a really easy solution for this. I believe that every people manager should be required to meet regularly with a therapist who can help them navigate the challenges and pressure and stresses that come with that job. A good therapist is trained to help people metabolize and work through the normal stresses and challenges of everyday life. This will help you avoid the negative coping mechanisms that we so often turn to when we're feeling that stress and overwhelm and anxiety. Ultimately, managers from middle management all the way to the top, to the executive team, if they don't get support to help manage the innate stress that comes with the job, it's going to end up with the demise of everything that is good and sacred and fun and cool about your business. So now I'm curious to hear what you think. How much of an influence does the stress of the job play on the creation of bad bosses? What's your worst experience with a boss? And what do you think could be done to help make bosses better? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments.